Cardinal Luis Tagle's papal bid. What went wrong, and was he let down? As the 2025 Papal Conclave approached, excitement was building, not just in the Philippines but all across Asia and among progressive Catholics worldwide. Many believed Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle, often called the Asian Francis, was on the brink of becoming the next pope. His emotional sincerity, key role in preparing the conclave, and reputation for uniting East and West gave people hope that he was the clear favorite. But when the white smoke rose from the Sistine Chapel, signaling that a new pope had been chosen, it wasn't Tagle. And suddenly, millions of Catholics, especially in Asia, were left asking, what happened? Heavy hopes and a strong case. Tagle wasn't just a popular face. He had serious credentials. He led major church departments in the Vatican, served as the Archbishop of Manila, and carried the same spirit of compassion and inclusivity as Pope Francis. He was known for his deep faith, humility, and for being able to connect with everyone, from the poorest families to the most powerful leaders. Because of this, many experts, news outlets, and even betting sites ranked him among the top choices for pope. Back home in the Philippines, the excitement was almost electric. In crowded neighborhoods, churches, and online, people dreamed of seeing an Asian pope, a leader with a kind heart, a simple way of living, and a passion for serving others. The conclave result: a dream put on hold. Even with all the excitement and hope, Cardinal Tagle didn't get the 2/3 of votes needed from the 133 cardinals who gathered to choose the next pope. We may never know the exact vote counts. Those are kept secret. But trusted reports suggest he wasn't among the top contenders by the final rounds. No one publicly opposed him, and there was no dramatic dismissal. Still, behind the scenes, as alliances shifted and ballots were cast, it became clear. The Church was heading in a different direction. The news hit hard. From the heart of Rome to villages and parishes across Asia, disappointment spread like a quiet wave. For many who had seen Tagle as a sign of hope and change, the outcome felt deeply personal. Was it a betrayal? In the Philippines, some people couldn't help but ask, was he betrayed? It's a powerful word, and one that began circulating on social media and in hushed conversations. But the truth is more complex. No proof of a backstab. There's no solid evidence that anyone turned against Cardinal Tagle or broke any promises. The Papal Conclave is one of the most private and sacred events in the Catholic Church. Cardinals are called to vote with their hearts and consciences, not based on political deals or pressure. Betrayal suggests something underhanded happened, but so far, there's nothing to support that. Still, for many Filipino Catholics, the sense of letdown was very real. They had hoped so deeply, prayed so hard, and dreamed so vividly of seeing one of their own become pope. And when that dream slipped away, it felt like a painful blow, even if everything was done fairly. Forces behind the decision. Why Tagle wasn't chosen. Global hesitations. Cardinal Tagle's identity as a Filipino and as an Asian was a source of pride for many, especially in the developing world. But for some cardinals, particularly from Europe and Latin America, the idea of an Asian pope might have felt like too big a shift. Even though Pope Francis had already broken with tradition by coming from Latin America, going further outside the usual European sphere may have felt risky to some voters. Concerns about leadership style. Inside the Vatican, some quietly questioned whether Tagle had the kind of administrative strength the Church needed right now. While everyone agreed he was a gifted speaker and a deeply pastoral leader, there were doubts about how he handled certain leadership roles, like his time overseeing Caritas Internationalis. With the Church still dealing with financial scandals and struggling with bureaucracy, some cardinals may have leaned toward a more hands-on, executive type of leader. Hopes and heartbreak. Filipino Catholics around the globe had followed Tagle's journey for years, from a local priest to Archbishop of Manila, and eventually to a top post in the Vatican. To them, he wasn't just a candidate. He was someone who understood their joys, their struggles, and their faith. When he wasn't elected, it wasn't just disappointing. It felt personal. And how did Tagle respond? Not with anger, not with cryptic interviews or silent resentment. He stayed calm, prayerful, and gracious, just as people had always known him to be. No drama, no scandal, just quiet dignity. Those who know him weren't surprised. He's always said, "It's not about position, it's about mission." Pope Leo XIV and Tagle, rivals or respect? In a surprising turn, it was Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost from the US who stepped out onto the balcony as the new pope, now Pope Leo XIV. So what was the story between him and Tagle? Were they competitors? Was there tension? Not really. It's easy to imagine behind-the-scenes drama or power plays, but the reality is far more ordinary and more meaningful. There's no reliable evidence of any personal conflict between the two. In fact, both men are well respected, and both were shaped by Pope Francis's legacy in different ways. Tagle is the heart, the one who feels deeply, who cries during Mass, who comforts the poor and the forgotten just by being present. Pope Leo XIV is the backbone, the experienced administrator, the steady problem solver who works quietly to fix what's broken and organize what's messy. They weren't enemies. They were simply different choices. And the Church chose the one it believed was needed at this moment. Who is Pope Leo XIV, really? Before his election, not many outside Church circles knew Cardinal Robert Prevost. But inside the Vatican, he was a key figure. Born in Chicago, trained in theology and canon law, and shaped by years of missionary work in Peru, Prevost brought together a rare mix of real-world experience and deep institutional knowledge. Pope Francis trusted him with a big job, leading the dicastery for bishops, the Vatican office responsible for choosing bishops around the world. That meant Prevost wasn't just part of the system, he helped shape the future of the Church. Quiet, steady, and deeply respected, he became known as Francis's go-to fixer. He wasn't considered a flashy candidate. Most people didn't expect him to win. But in the end, that low-profile reliability may have been exactly what persuaded the Cardinals. When the smoke rose, it was him. No drama, just different directions. Some expected tension between Prevost and Cardinal Tagle after the conclave, but that never came. Tagle showed no signs of resentment. No cold looks, no cryptic comments, no backstage drama. That might disappoint anyone hoping for a power struggle. But Tagle is a man of faith, not ambition. His journey didn't end with the papacy slipping away. In fact, it might just be starting a new phase, supporting the Church through quiet leadership, mentoring, and reaching out to people in his deeply personal way. And what about Pope Leo XIV? He now carries the full weight of leading over 1 billion Catholics. But he may find himself relying on Tagle, not for politics, but for the spiritual warmth and human connection that touches hearts. Even those who rooted for Tagle recognized Prevost's strengths. Across Asia, Catholic leaders responded not with outrage, but with trust and grace. One Filipino bishop simply said, "The Spirit has spoken through the Cardinals. We trust the Lord's choice." Analysts say Prevost represents continuity and structure. Someone who will quietly push forward the reforms, started under Pope Francis. Tagle, on the other hand, would have continued the tone and emotional style of Francis. In the end, Leo XIV was seen as a unifying choice. Not dramatic, but dependable. And maybe that's exactly what the Church needs right now. Before his election, Prevost led the office that shaped bishops across the globe. That wasn't just another Vatican post, it was a seat of serious influence. And he carried out his job with a mix of humility and quiet authority. He didn't seek the spotlight, he earned respect. That quiet trust is what helped him win the secret sacred votes of the 2025 Conclave. Even now, some inside the Church are still trying to fully understand how it all came together. But the outcome is clear. Pope Leo XIV was chosen to lead. And Cardinal Tagle, while not elected, remains a vital voice in the Church's unfolding story. The unexpected Pope, what his election really tells us. So why was Cardinal Robert Prevost chosen? Why not Cardinal Tagle, the widely loved Asian Francis, or one of the well-connected European contenders? The answer isn't just about popularity. It's about what the Church needed at this moment. After the death of Pope Francis, the Catholic Church found itself in a fragile state. Divisions between conservatives and progressives were growing. Vatican bureaucracy was stalling key reforms, and many young Catholics felt increasingly disconnected from the faith. That's where Leo XIV came in. His election sent a clear message. We want someone who can bring people together. He's a bridge builder, someone who understands the richness of Latin America, the structure of the West, and the heart of mission work in places like Peru. He's a canon lawyer, yes, but not just a rule-book reader. He's someone who's walked alongside the poor, listened more than he spoke, and quietly earned trust. To many, his calm, humble approach feels a lot like Pope Francis. But Leo XIV also brings an American-style organizational focus that some hope will speed up much-needed reforms. And what about Cardinal Tagle? Does this mean Cardinal Tagle's influence is over? Not at all. For millions, especially in the Philippines and across Asia, Tagle wasn't just a possible pope. He was their pope. A symbol of hope, compassion, and global inclusion. He spoke their language, shared their faith, and made them feel seen in a church often dominated by Western voices. When his name wasn't announced, it felt like a punch to the heart. But that doesn't mean he's been pushed aside. His term as pro-prefect of the Dicastery for Evangelization technically ended with Pope Francis's passing, but it's common for new popes to keep trusted leaders, or move them into even more important roles. Tagle is still one of the most respected figures in the Church. He's the former Archbishop of Manila, fluent in multiple languages, and a major force in global dialogue. His deep compassion, his message of mercy, and his skill in connecting across cultures remain unmatched. It's very likely Pope Leo XIV will ask him to stay close, perhaps in a new role that reflects both his experience and his symbolic importance, especially to Catholics in the global South. In fact, keeping Tagle visible could help heal ideological divides and reassure reform-minded Catholics that their hopes haven't been forgotten. Let's be honest, Pope Leo XIV is stepping into leadership at a tough time for the Catholic Church. In many parts of the world, especially Europe and Latin America, fewer people are going to Mass. Young people are turning away from religion entirely, or just not interested. Inside the Church, conservatives are getting louder in their pushback against change. And when it comes to reaching people online or in the media, the Church often feels stuck in the past. But Leo XIV isn't stepping in blindly. He knows how to work through complexity. He spent his life balancing the rules of canon law with the real-world messiness of missionary life. He understands both discipline and compassion. Now, his mission is to bring together a church that's divided and tired, and he might be exactly the steady hand needed to do it. People are paying close attention. His election carries huge weight. When Cardinal Timothy Dolan called it a bold and spirit-led choice, it resonated far beyond the U.S. Catholic world. Vatican insiders noted how smart the move was, choosing a man who can unite different regions of the world without stirring up more internal conflict. News outlets from CBS to Vatican News are already highlighting Leo XIV's quiet strength, his ability to bring stability while gently pushing forward the reforms that Pope Francis began. Even those who hoped Cardinal Tagle would be chosen have started to see something valuable in Prevost. Not flashy change, but calm continuity, without the chaos. If you see yourself as a bridge builder, then this Pope might just speak to you. What does Pope Leo XIV really represent? He stands right in the middle, between continents, between mind and heart, between preserving tradition and embracing change. If you're someone who tries to connect people, who values clear thinking but also deep empathy, you might see yourself in Pope Leo XIV's journey. He's not here for grand speeches or the spotlight. He's the kind of leader who works quietly behind the scenes, fixing what's broken, strengthening what's weak, and slowly shaping a better future. His story is still unfolding. Will he bring Cardinal Tagle back into a major leadership role? Will he finish the reforms Francis began, or take them in a new direction? Will his American-Peruvian background reshape the Vatican's global strategy? Time will tell. But one thing is already clear. This isn't the story of an accidental pope. It's the story of a man who spent his whole life preparing without chasing the role until the moment came, and he humbly said yes. Now, as his journey begins, you're part of the story too. Whether you're Catholic or just curious, watching this moment means something. You've seen the path that led here. Now, maybe it can help guide your own.